Those who have attended first workshop, you would recall I began the workshop by telling you that you come to participate in this competition. Essentially, also is to learn how to become a professional manager. And I said that professional manager, so this is what you saw last week. Management is the work of a professional manager. And this professional manager can be in any functional department, such as sales, marketing, procurement, production, or R&D. But then, he is overseeing a management process, which is in distinct to another process, that is the professional work process of his, perhaps his specialization or his department. But in the management process, what he has to do is to make strategic decisions in order to coordinate the resources that is in his exposure, and also the activities that is going on in order to carry out the existence of the company with an objective of increasing the value of the company. So the company would become wealthier, more valuable to its investors. So the picture is like this. The job of a manager has got his technical work, such as sales, marketing, procurement, production, and so where he buys materials, or he have turn on the machine and get the people to produce the products, but that is technical. And in the management work, the manager has to plan, has to organize, has to control and lead his team by making very, very important strategic decisions. So that's what the chart is trying to tell you. And all that for the purpose of coordinating the resources at his disposal, and also the activities that's going on, right? And that is the purpose, existence of the company. So now, I'm going to now focus today on the planning process in the operations management of a company. So we're going to explore and discover what is the purpose of planning in the management, and what can we say about the nature of planning, and then some key outcome of the planning process. So, and also, what do managers do to make plans? And is making a plan something generic? And of course, here I'm already going to say it is a process that is generic and repeatable, and it is the same thing that whether you are in whatever department. So indeed, the last question is, do managers at different levels make different kinds of plans? And yes, for instance, the CEO of a company overseeing a multinational, obviously his kind of a plan is different from a manager that is running, in this case, like an MBS simulation, a company that manufacture one product and market one product. So different kinds of plan, but the planning process is strikingly similar, whether you are the CEO, whether you are just a small manager in a small department. So purpose, what is the purpose of planning? And what can you expect out of planning? And we say that all business operations stem from planning. And that's a very famous saying. Managers who fail in the business but never plan to fail. Manager who failed merely failed to plan. So if you have no plan, you are not likely to succeed, even though no plan is perfect. I'm going to emphasize, no plan is perfect. And but then there is another management process that is going to make sure that imperfect plan gets closer to perfection. And that process is called controlling, which I'm going to focus and talk about more in next workshop. All right, so the key outcome of a plan is some informed strategic decisions made to carry out business operations in the reality of an undefined and unpredictable future. So today you will go through the game again. Hopefully we can play 3 round or maybe more, but you will be asked to make strategic decisions. And how do you make those strategic decisions? It comes out from your plan. So I'm going to teach you how to make a plan, how to plan. And without that plan, without planning, you cannot make right decisions. And then, you fill in the decision numbers, but actually you have no idea what that is, what is it for, and why is it necessary to be that number. Right? So you can only do that if you only know what you are doing if you follow the planning process diligently, step by step. All right. So planning process is generic, and for the purpose of the workshop, for the purpose of today's game, actually, I'm only going to discuss these 4 key actions. That is set goals and develop this strategy, forecast, and budget. So let's see what goals to set, what strategy that you can have, and forecast what, and budget what. Right? Okay, so next slide. Let's see what is a plan. By definition, a plan is a scheme with actions that specifies in details what actions and when this must be done to realize a desired goal and based on a certain strategy. So the planning process in the 4 key actions is setting goals and objectives, that is to decide on the objectives of which the plan must accomplish. So what will be the goal for your plan and playing this game? So what are they? I will discuss that a little bit later. And then you need to have a strategy, that is to say that what do you do in order to, what can you do to achieve that goal, that objective? For instance, what tactic do you use in your product positioning, your pricing strategy, and also you have strategy for a lot of things, but how to maintain a ideal inventory level, and all this are part of so-called that strategy. And then you will have to forecast what could happen in the marketplace based on the scheme. In other words, what kind of results you can forecast that is going to happen. And then finally, budget. You will have to know that what is needed in order to help you to achieve the forecast outcome. And therefore, you need money, manpower, a lot of other things, machineries. So these are part of budgeting. Now, let's also look at a goal. A goal is the desired future state that the organization would like to realize. In other words, for instance, in this case, you may have a goal for your owner's equity, and you will now soon be explained the purpose of playing this game is to aim for what? Is that to aim for the best net present value of the company. In other words, your company will get richer. So that is the measure of which team would do better than others, right? That will be the decision for winning. And of course, there are other goals. Soon we will explain to you also to measure what determine a winning team. not just the NPV, but also how you manage your resources, right? Like the return on equity. There are other things that also are important goals, which will also be used to measure the who wins in this game. So these are other factors. So now, for the purpose of playing this game, in fact, the game interface have already suggested these are the most likely or perhaps the most logical objective for you to aim for playing this game. So you need to look no further. The system actually helps you to determine what will be the appropriate goals that you should be going for. And these are expressed in terms of this acronym called SIREN, SIREN. S stands for market share, or it could be sales volume. They, can be interchangeably used. More market share means you sell more. So you can either look at your market share as the goal, or you can look at your sales volume as your goal. Inventory, there are actually two types of inventory in this game. You have inventory of finished goods. That means you produce the goods and they are sitting in the warehouse, not yet sold, but ready to be sold. So that's called finished good, and it's an inventory. You also have inventory of raw materials. They are used to produce finished goods. They are also sitting now in the warehouse and hasn't been used, but they will be used period after period or round after round. And as they are used, and they need to be replaced. So the objective is then what will be the ideal level of the inventory that need to be sitting in the warehouse? What is the ideal level? It is definitely not zero. So what is that? So that will be the objective. R stands for revenue. It's what is the income coming for sales. Right? That's easy to explain. So what kind of what is your objective for revenue? Round after round, what are you looking for? How much revenue are you looking for? Right? So you need to set your goal. With no goal, then you also will not have the plan to achieve that goal, right? How do you get the revenue that you set as your goal? So goal for revenue is very important. Expenses. So there are in this game expenses that will be incurred in marketing, expenses incurred in the buying raw material procurement, expenses incurred in keeping the equipment maintained and therefore function well. Then also expenses in increasing your production capacity. Right, equipment investments. You put in money in order to grow your production capacity. And the game rule says that if you invest $20 for every $20 you invest, your production capacity increased by 1 unit, so you can produce 1 unit more. So if you want to sell more, you have to produce more. And you have to produce more, you have to make sure that you have the capacity to produce more. And therefore, investing in that, increasing the capacity is important. That is equipment investment. R&D is also an expense. R&D impacts the quality of the product. So if you want the product to be better than your competitors, you need to put in money to make it more new functionality and all this, you can imagine. So the kind of acceptability, whether you want to pitch your product as a high-end or low-end product. It depends on what you would do in putting in R&D. So again, so these are goals. In other words, what would be the adequate level of the marketing, procurement, R&D, investment, and maintenance that I'm looking at? That is my desired goals. This is the level that I would like to see, and therefore, how do you achieve that? And finally, the net profit is also very easy to understand. After deducting all the expenses from your revenue, you get a net profit. So what is the goal for your net profit? How much net profit are you looking for? So Siren goes. I must also say that these 5 objectives are not necessarily all equally important and significant for you as you play the game. But then, the team will have to decide which one you want to even take an even closer look. Some others, maybe you can let it be a little bit flexible. That's not too critical. So they are not of equal importance. That again depends on strategy. Now, finally, a strategy. So strategy, according to Henry Mintzberg, a renowned professor, strategy is a plan. It can be a plan, comprehensive, actionable steps in achieving goals, employ some short-term maneuver in conducting business activities, pattern of behavior, like you will introduce new product every year, or positioning of your product versus the other. You would like it to be of high quality or just average quality. You want your product to be the BMW Porsche in car, or you want it to be the average Toyota or Nissan, for instance. Or perspective, the value that you champion, ethical objective. All this could be strategy. But for playing this game, actually the strategy that you have to choose or focus on would be very simple. It is called costs down or differentiation. Right? And that is according to Michael Porter. So either you want to sell your product at a low price, and with a low price, obviously you can sell more. But then you will know that will give you a very, very small margin. And therefore, you have to control your cost. If your cost is too high and you sell at a low cost, you definitely are selling at a loss. So you cannot do that. So if you are going for a cost down strategy, then the cost itself, it will be your marketing point. So maybe you don't need to invest so much in marketing, but just by the low price itself, it is the best marketing message. Then you also will be looking at how to minimize cost in order to make sure that you have got a very comfortable margin. Or you can put in a lot of investment in R&D, increase the quality, and make your product the very high-end product, and therefore it would justify for a higher price, and therefore higher margin and higher profit. And in that case, you don't expect to sell a lot of that, right? You cannot be fighting for a market share, big market share, when you are positioning your product in the high end. All right. So for the purpose of playing this game, is therefore is the strategy of pattern of behavior, right? Cost down or differentiation. Now, business operation strategy is a plot, right, that describes the needed resources, activities, as well as the competitive advantage achieved through strategic use of this to attain the organizational goals in and it serves as a way to integrate the organization within the organization environment. So essentially, it says, this is a plot where you decide on either cost down or differentiation, and to achieve certain competitive advantage. Cost down is a competitive advantage, being low cost, right? High quality is a competitive advantage, being something that is a bigger perceived value. And so now, how do you then coordinate your resources and your activities to achieve that, to position your product as a low cost product or a high-end product? How do you do that? Now, then the next activity in the planning process is forecasting. And that is to analyze past, present performance, and then estimate and predict some future conditions and events, and the threats and opportunities associated with this. So a lot of things you need to forecast. Later on, there will be a slide that will specifically show you, actually, for playing this game, what do you have to forecast. The forecasting process is, first you have to know the period that you need to forecast. And in the case of this game, every round you have to forecast the result of the round. So the period is short, perhaps one season. Then you have to determine what will be the critical factors that is going to impact this value, and then you have to get information from the environment, and then you make some assumptions. Then develop the scenario, and then you're going to say that okay, this is my forecast. Here, for instance, sales volume in the forecasting period. I forecast that next period I'm going to sell X, and then it helps you to decide therefore what will be the price that you want to sell. Now, budget. So budget is the acquisition and distribution of resources, and that can be time, people, facilities, and equipment, information, and natural resources, and also money. In this game, the budget is rather easy. You are not asked to budget for hardware, software, and all other things. You really are asked to budget for the expenses. So you need a budget of this kind of expenses, that kind of expenses. And as I already pointed out earlier, you have got maintenance expenses, product investment, you have got marketing, you have got the dividend. So these are something that you have to budget for and be sure that you have the money for it. And then you have to then look at your cash flow, that you can afford to do that. So the budgeting process will be to determine what the resources are necessary to carry out the strategy, and then verify that you have the resources, confirm that the resources are committed, and make sure that they are transferred and used for that purpose, and provide some adequate accounting procedures for all future use of resources. So you budget for the capacity, you budget for raw material inventory, you budget for cash flow, and then you then decide on the production volume, the quantity of raw materials to purchase, marketing expenses, maintenance, equipment, investment, and R&D. Now, so budgeting process we already discussed, and the next thing is we talk about business intelligence and planning process. Obviously, now you can feel it already. Then in order that you can do all that in the planning, in forecasting and budgeting, you need data. Ultimately, your strategy decisions making, you want to make your decisions based on data. It is a data-based decision. In other words, there's no guesswork. So planning is impossible or even meaningless without business intelligence. And so the business intelligence means everything about the performance of the company, about the history, about the business environment. Is a high growth market. It is the sentiment of the product is uptrend, downtrend, and the cost of money, for instance, interest rate, everything are very important data for you to take into consideration, so that you can plan, so that you can make your decisions. So these are some of the activities that you go and get. Look at the data. You identify ways to increase profit. You analyze customers' behavior. You analyze your competitors' data, and then you're trying to second guess what your competitors are trying to do, and therefore you can counteract what they're trying to do. You can track the performance, optimize the operation, predict successes, spot market, and so on. Now, so this is something that I hope will be very helpful for you now that you are into second workshop. You really want to get into playing the game properly. So I call it the planning cycle. And so let's look at the top left corner, objective management. And I already said the recommended objective for you is SIREN, the sales volume, the inventory level, the revenue, the expenses, and the net profit. These are all the objectives recommended to you. And then the next thing you have to do is then you have to distribute on a strategy. And if you look at what is stated down here, simply you have to choose between cost down or differentiation. This is essentially what this game expects you to decide on. Now, once you have chosen the strategy that how you're going to proceed with taking this company over and then run it for 4 rounds in the competition, then you're going to start looking at the sales. So sales management is the first thing you want to look at as a management team. So what do you do? At the sales management phase, actually, you will have to forecast the sales volume, right? In other words, now for the next period, then how much I think I would like to sell. Right. Now, how do you know how much you can or cannot sell? Well, you do have data. All right, you have the data of your sales volume of the period that before you take over this company. Let's call the round 0. And so assuming all things being equal, maybe the next period you will sell equally much. All right, so that is your starting point. But then you got your strategy. You said I'm going to go cost down, and therefore it would sell more. So how much more? So you actually have to forecast how much more, and you cannot forecast that if you don't apply your strategy, correct? So if I say I want to cost down enough to sell more, then you have to now consider then marketing management, right? So how much effort do I have to put in the marketing? In other words, do I increase my marketing budget in order that I can sell more? Or maybe, the you're already cutting costs, and you cannot afford to put into more marketing, or maybe that's not necessary. Or you think you want to go differentiation, so then you will have to put in a lot more marketing to promote your product in order to maintain certain sales volume. But if you are going to go price up and quality up, then will you be selling equally much as the last quarter or the last period, or hopefully the same? So these are all the things that you have to consider. You are going to go quality up, so then budget money for R&D. If you're going to go quality up, you also have to budget money for your marketing. Right? So you're a team. You can assign people to take charge of certain considerations. The marketing manager asks him, then what do you suggest would be the correct amount of marketing expenses? So why you say that? What is the appropriate amount of R&D? Or why you say that? And when you come to that decision, before you come to the decision, you probably analyze, right, some past data. Right? If you go into the second, third round, you have already got some past data to look at. And that will help you to come to the final decision. Now, if you decide that this is the volume that you can sell, then obviously you will have to have it in your inventory. And you probably have got something left in the finished good inventory, but not that level. Therefore, you have to produce. Therefore, you have to decide on how much to produce, and that is called production management. And when you decide on how much to produce, do you simply say that order to be the amount to be produced plus whatever I have sitting in my inventory for finished good, and that equal to my forecast sales? Now, is that correct decision? Or you actually want to produce a little bit more than that, so that you have got the opportunity that your forecast sales can be an underestimate, actually, because of other actions or because of action of the competitors. You actually have got a bigger potential demand. And if so, then you suddenly find that you just did not produce enough, and you sold out everything, and then you're wasting your potential demand. Therefore, when you want to produce, your decision is, I want to keep something, to deal with, if I get lucky, I can sell more. I have more to sell. So you should never have your finished good inventory at zero at any one time. And as I said, you already use that inventory as your goal. So what is the goal? What would be a level that is going to be appropriate to you? You will be happy with that level of inventory of finished goods. So that is, again, for you to deliberate as a team and decide. And you also have to look at your production capacity, which you can find the data in the user interface. If you forecast a sales volume that far exceeds your capacity of production, that is unrealistic, right? Because you want to produce that much more, but your factory cannot produce that much more. Now, the one thing is that in the game, your factory can go into overtime to produce 50% more than the capacity, although you have to pay a price for it. In other words, there will be overtime charges, so the cost gets higher. And then your decision will be, you will have to debate and argue whether, yes, the overtime is worth it. I will produce more because that will bring the better revenue, better profit, and therefore, it will justify the high cost of production. Or maybe not, right? You want to take a more conservative approach. So you look at the capacity management. Now you are satisfied with the capacity, you are satisfied with the level of production you want to allocate, then you go and look at your inventory of raw materials. So inventory management and procurement management. Do you have enough inventory to support the production volume? Then the game rule says that whatever sits now in your inventory of raw material now, they are all available for production. But if you place an order to buy raw materials now, that raw material will only be delivered a period or a round later. So they are not there. So you buy now, they cannot be used. You buy now, and they can be used only in the next round. So, so the purpose of buying is actually to replenish. And so here, you will have to decide whether you want to replenish exactly what you use, you can, or you want to replenish more than what you use. And what is the rationale for buying more than what you use? Could be because the inflation, that buying sooner is better than buying later, because the price is going to go up. And then the next thing is, can you afford it? You have enough cash flow to buy all that much more raw material. So that's one thing. And also there is this production efficiency factor, where it says that for 100 units of raw material, you can only get 68% at the beginning of finished good. There are wastage, there are rejects. And so the reason for having wastage and having reject is the efficiency of the machine. And your machine is going to deteriorate. And the only way to bring or maintain this efficiency coefficient is to invest in maintenance. And that's why you have a decision, maintenance expenses. If you don't spend money on that, then your efficiency is going to go further and further down. In fact, that is going to be very inefficient, and wastage, you can go down to only 50% of the, you invest 50%, 100 units of raw material, you only get 50 usable, sellable finished goods. So that is very poor. Again, that is a very important decision. So ultimately, you will do, as I say, you look at the bottom, you forecast the consumption, and then you budget how much you want to buy. And you also have to budget what are the expenses, your maintenance expenses you want to incur. Now, having followed this planning cycle, I think you will be able to actually fill in the blank of all the 8 decisions, except or this one last bit, right? The equity. There is some equity. But the dividend. So what about dividend? And if the competition is based on net present value, so if you issue dividend early, then that dividend is going to worth more based on the formula of calculating net present value. But that's one part. You don't want to give away all the money as a dividend, and then got nothing left or not enough left in cash flow to run the business. So that is also not making sense, right? So generally speaking, you will have to look at your growth in the equity. One of the objectives of something that you have to watch very closely is the owner's equity, round by round. If they are going down, then your company is getting a lower and lower value, then that's not a good sign, right? Your purpose of running the company is to increase the value. And certainly if you are not making good net profit, then what good is it to issue a dividend only to hurt your cash flow and therefore less money to operate. So I think this will give you some clue as to now how to play the game. And now let's begin the actual playing the game, all right? And see how much time, that how many rounds we can play within the time of today's workshop. I would suggest that for the first round, we're going to play a fresh game. For the first round, you need a little bit more time to deliberate and try to follow the planning cycle and make good decisions. So I would suggest that you spend 30 minutes. So the game master is going to assign 30 minutes for you to make up your mind to make your decisions, and also be reminded that regularly you save your decisions. There's a button called save temporarily, because things can happen. Your internet connection can drop out, and so you don't want to lose anything that you have spent so much time to work out. At least they are already saved in the system. And then when you are reaching the final deadline that you have to submit, remember that in the competition, nobody waits for you. If you don't submit, then you are out of the game. So even for today, the MC will try to urge everybody to submit in time. Maybe we'll give you a little bit of allowance, but not a lot more. So be disciplined. Submit your decision on time, or in the final competition, you are out. You can no longer continue to compete in the game.